Did FIFA lie? This is the true plan for the 2026 World Cup that nobody told you about. Get ready, because what's happening behind the scenes could completely change your perspective on football's most anticipated tournament. Iran's participation in the 2026 World Cup hangs by a thread, and what's behind this situation is a web of events that traditional media prefers to keep secret. What would be the real reason and impact of this uncertainty for world football? The geopolitical landscape surrounding international football has never been more complex than it is today. As the 2026 World Cup approaches, hosted jointly by the United States, Canada, and Mexico, several nations find themselves caught between sporting aspirations and political realities. Iran, a country with a rich football heritage and passionate fan base, represents one of the most compelling cases of how global politics can intersect with the beautiful game. The Islamic Republic of Iran has participated in 6 previous World Cups, with their most memorable performance coming in 1998 when they defeated the United States in a politically charged match that transcended sport. Their qualification for the 2026 tournament seemed straightforward through the Asian qualifying process, but recent global events have cast serious doubt over their participation in what should be football's greatest celebration. But understanding the current situation requires examining the complex relationship between FIFA's stated neutrality in political matters and the practical realities of hosting a global tournament in an increasingly polarized world. The governing body has long maintained that football should remain separate from politics, yet recent events have tested this principle like never before. The first major revelation in this explosive journey shows us an alarming scenario. Iran's presence at the 2026 World Cup is seriously threatened. We're not talking about on-field performance, but something much larger. According to Le Progrès portal, Iranian Federation President Mehdi Taj considered the idea of a boycott just hours after the start of a military operation led by the USA and Israel. He suspended domestic league games and declared that hopes for the World Cup were grim. This statement from Taj wasn't made in isolation, but reflected the broader sentiment within Iranian football circles and government officials. The timing of his comments, coming so soon after military escalations, demonstrates how quickly sporting decisions can be influenced by geopolitical events. The suspension of domestic league matches served as both a practical security measure and a symbolic gesture of protest. The Iranian Football Federation's position has historically been influenced by the country's broader foreign policy stance, particularly regarding relationships with Western nations. Taj's comments about grim World Cup prospects weren't merely emotional reactions, but calculated statements that reflected ongoing discussions within Iranian leadership about the appropriate response to international tensions. The implications of such statements extend far beyond Iran's borders. When other nations in similar geopolitical positions have been closely monitoring Iran's stance, as it could set precedents for how football federations respond to international conflicts. The ripple effects of Iran's potential withdrawal could influence participation decisions by other nations facing similar pressures. Deepening our investigation, the second major development reveals an even more tense context. Iran, already in their 7th World Cup participation. Zajin was drawn in Group G alongside Belgium, Egypt, and New Zealand. Here's the crucial point. They have a scheduled match in Seattle and 2 others in Los Angeles, on American soil. This adds an undeniable layer of political complexity and tension to an already delicate situation. The question remains, how will FIFA and the host countries handle this escalation? The geographical reality of Iran playing matches on American soil cannot be understated. The United States and Iran have had no formal diplomatic relations since 1980, and tensions have fluctuated dramatically over the decades. Security concerns, visa issues, and potential protests all become significant factors when considering Iran's participation in matches held in American cities. Seattle and Los Angeles represent major metropolitan areas with diverse populations, including significant Iranian-American communities and various political advocacy groups. The prospect of Iranian national team matches in these cities raises complex questions about security protocols, fan safety, and the potential for political demonstrations that could overshadow the sporting spectacle. FIFA's decision to maintain the original match schedule despite these tensions demonstrates either confidence in their security arrangements or a determination to avoid setting precedents that could politicize future tournament planning. The governing body has historically resisted calls to relocate matches based on political considerations, viewing such moves as compromising football's universal appeal. The third major development brings us a revelation about FIFA's strategic movements in the face of this crisis. In a meeting, FIFA, through Secretary General Matthias Grafström, declared it was too early to comment in detail, but promised to monitor global developments. What can we understand from this? That despite the gravity of the situation, no formal conversation about Iran's possible withdrawal has been initiated. However, it's crucial to note that FIFA's regulations for the 2026 World Cup in Article 6 cite force majeure, giving organizers total discretion to take necessary measures. This opens a dangerous precedent and possibility for substitution should Iran withdraw or be excluded. The force majeure clause represents FIFA's legal safety net in unprecedented situations. While traditionally applied to natural disasters or extreme circumstances beyond human control, the interpretation of what constitutes force majeure in the context of geopolitical tensions remains deliberately vague. This ambiguity provides FIFA with maximum flexibility while avoiding explicit political positioning. Grafstrom's carefully worded response reflects FIFA's institutional approach to crisis management. By avoiding definitive statements while promising to monitor developments, the organization maintains plausible deniability while preparing for multiple scenarios. This diplomatic language masks intensive behind-the-scenes planning for various contingencies. The regulatory framework surrounding team withdrawals and substitutions has been tested before, notably during the COVID-19 pandemic when several teams faced potential exclusion due to health protocols. However, the current situation with Iran represents the first major test of these regulations in a purely geopolitical context, potentially setting important precedents for future tournaments. We've reached the climax of this revelation that FIFA doesn't want you to know. The inevitable plan for Iran in the 2026 World Cup is a delicate dance between politics and sport, where FIFA seeks to maintain appearances while preparing for the worst. The truth is that despite no boycott being provided for in the regulations, the force majeure clause is the real wild card in FIFA's hands. This means that if political tension escalates to the point of making Iran's participation unfeasible, FIFA has total autonomy to exclude them and substitute them with another Asian national team without major challenges. The secret is that FIFA is already mapping this possibility and preparing the ground for an eventual substitution that will keep the 2026 World Cup safe and neutral, even if it means sacrificing a nation's participation. The contingency planning reportedly includes identifying potential replacement teams from the Asian Confederation, with particular attention to nations that performed well in qualifying but narrowly missed automatic qualification. Countries like Syria, Jordan, and/or even a playoff between the next best Asian teams could provide viable alternatives that would maintain the tournament's competitive integrity. Behind closed doors, FIFA officials have been conducting scenario planning exercises that examine various levels of escalation and their corresponding responses. These exercises consider not just Iran's potential withdrawal, but also the broader implications for other nations that might face similar pressures in future tournaments. The organization's approach reflects a pragmatic understanding that modern international football cannot exist in a political vacuum. While maintaining public commitments to neutrality, FIFA's private preparations acknowledge that geopolitical realities may sometimes require difficult decisions that prioritize tournament security and stability over absolute inclusivity. It's a geopolitical chess game disguised as football, where the real parties responsible for Iran's delicate situation are the tensions between the USA, Israel, and Iran itself, directly impacting football's biggest stage. The real treasure here is understanding that FIFA, behind the scenes, has already drawn up its contingency plan, and Iran's participation is just another piece on this complex board. The implications extend beyond Iran to the broader principle of sports' relationship with politics. Like FIFA's handling of this situation will establish precedents that could influence how future geopolitical crises affect international football, potentially reshaping the landscape of global sport governance. What do you think about this situation? Do you believe FIFA should intervene more actively or maintain neutrality? Leave your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more analyses like this that mainstream media won't tell you. The 2026 World Cup represents more than just a football tournament. It's a test of international cooperation and sports' ability to transcend political divisions. How FIFA navigates the Iran situation may well define the organization's approach to similar challenges for years to come, making this one of the most significant behind-the-scenes stories in modern football history.